Thank you for joining Moderna and joining us our What's New event. We are excited to have you here with us. I would like to introduce the following. I just want to introduce Katie. She's our Director for Moderna Infrastructure, Engineering and Infrastructure Solution Sales. And myself, Salome, I've been with Moderna for the last 13 years and been part of the infrastructure team for the last year and a half. Now I would like to introduce Tabelo. He will be the presenter today for our Revit structure, What's New. He's been in the industry for the last 10 years and been specializing in implementing the best practice for BIM in the industry, from early concept design to facility management, with the aim to delivering a full life cycle data sets of projects. Just a few things. For any questions, please add it to the Q&A at the bottom. Tabelo will answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. Enjoy it and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Salome. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Revit 2021, to the What's New webinar for Revit 2021, specifically for structures, right? I will be going through all the features, right? The way I've structured the webinar, I'll introduce the feature and I'll show you a little demo on what the feature is and what it does in Revit. Okay, so the first thing that I'll be getting started with are our platform features, right? These are features that are introduced to Revit generally for all the industry, but I've just selected a few that are specific to our discipline, to structures. And the first one I'm going to look at is our PDF and image linking. Right now, what Autodesk have done, we've been able to import PDFs into Revit, but now we have the ability to link PDFs and images from your local machine or from your cloud file locations, right? With this ability, we're also able to select multiple rows to reload or remove links. We're able to convert links to imports as needed, and also use the show button to find a PDF or image in a project, which is very useful. Okay, as you can see on there, it's just a basic drawing, right? The command is in our insert tab. You just click on link PDF, or you navigate to where your PDF is. In this case here, there's a scanned PDF, right? You can also link in vector PDFs, which would allow you to scale the drawing before you bring it into your drawing area or into your project, right? In this case here, as you can see, able to pin the PDF as you would previously. And if we go into our manage links, you'll see there's a PDF tab at the top of the screen there, which allows us to then obviously go in there, you can select it, able to reload, unload, and also remove the PDF from your project, right? This basically allows us to utilize and manage images and PDFs much more easily in Revit 2021 with our linking features. Okay. Another function that Autodesk have introduced into Revit 2021, we have the ability, there's an enable filter column that has been added to our filter tab in our visibility graphics dialog. Right. This quickly allows us to disable a view filter without having to remove the filter from the view like we did in the past. And this allows us to continue to view the elements that fit the criteria of the filter. This is enabled by default when a new view filter is applied to the view, right? And then the way it works, the command is found under your, obviously your manage tab or your view tab in this case. You go into visibility graphics as you would, or you could type in VG. We'll have that filter tab, and in that filter tab, you'll notice there's an enable filter column that's been added there. In this case, I'm able to disable filters that have been added to the view. As I apply, Revit switches off that filter, but keeps the components in that view, right? As you can see, I'm able obviously to enable it. There's a great function which gives users the ability to quickly apply or remove view filter graphic overrides from elements in a view. Okay. What Autodesk have done, they've improved our BIM 360 project navigation in your Revit home or your Revit start screen. This allows users to better experience BIM 360 on their Revit software. Right now, it's easy to differentiate between recent files and cloud-hosted models. You're able to search from a long list of projects. You can easily have direct access to the files saved in BIM 360 with a go to BIM 360 button, right? And this quite straightforward. And then you'll see on the left of your home screen, there's a BIM 360 button. On your start screen, you're able to search for projects that you've been invited to, right? Navigate to the folder where the files are saved, right? And obviously you'll go to your structural team on the folder that you've been added to. And as you would normally, just select the file that you're currently working on. On the top right of your screen, there's a link that when you click on it, it takes you directly to that BIM 360 folder and where that file is seated, right? This experience has been significantly improved in Revit 2021 for projects hosted on BIM 360, right? So as you can see on the screen, you don't have a whole lot of recent files that are showing on your start screen, right? Another very exciting feature that has been introduced in Revit 2021 is the infrastructure discipline and your bridge categories. Right now, Autodesk have introduced this new infrastructure discipline. It's got 26 model elements that have been added for bridges and 20 annotation elements. These categories support visibility or graphics overrides. They support object styles, tags, and schedules, right? This really just supports our workflow for bridge design, specifically if you are using InfraWorks and Revit together to do your bridge design, right? And as you can see, there's a bridge that's been brought into Revit. I've opened up my visibility graphics, and on a list of categories or disciplines, at the bottom there we now have infrastructure. You can see a list of categories that are added on there. In this case, there are filters that have been created using those categories. In this case, just using an example for bridge piers, right? And we're going to add a display override for our piers in the specific bridge, right? In this case, we're just going to add a color override, add a solid fill pattern, and just assign a color to it. And as you would with any other filters we've been doing in the past, we're now able to do this with bridges in our project, right? The interface is very user-friendly. If you've worked on Revit, you'll be able to use the infrastructure tools as well. In this case here, we're creating a schedule, right? Selected infrastructure, gone into our piers. All the fields, as you would find in any other category or discipline in Revit, you'll be able to add them onto your schedule, and we're able to create our schedules for our bridges as well. Right, this basically better supports our bridge design workflows, and we're able to produce documents directly from Revit. Okay, what Autodesk have done, they've also integrated our structural analysis result panel. This used to get installed separately, right? But what they've done now, the results exploration tools are installed with your Revit 2021 installation. Now, this makes it easier for us to manage and view analysis results directly with Revit, and also they've simplified the deployment for it, okay? I'm sure you guys are familiar with this interface. That panel used to get installed as an add-in, but now this gets deployed with your installation, right? Basically open up our results explorer here, and we applying a different results in the structural model or structural analysis model brought into Revit. You would still need robot structure to run the analysis, right? And then import those results into your Revit structure or your Revit 2021 software. Right, basically this integration of the structural analysis results exploration features enhances the connection between design and analysis for structural engineers. Right. Now going into rebar or reinforcement tools, there's quite a few features that have been added into Revit 2021, and a few exciting ones that would make our workflow much better and much easier for our reinforcement or rebar detailing. The first one I'd like to look at is the introduction of new standard 3D rebar shapes, right? Specifically this shape code 83, right? What Autodesk allows us to do, or Revit allows us to do, is enable shape codes completeness, extract bending instruction, and also full fabrication instructions, right? I'll just show you a few examples, or the specific example for this stools. Reinforcing bar assemblies known as stools are normally required, as we know, for support of top mats or reinforcing bars in these concrete members, such as footing and slabs. These stools have a 3D rebar shape and what we normally call stools, or a shape code 83. Now, to easily do this, you select your rebar, go to your properties palette, add a hook at the end or start, and we're now able to rotate these hooks on our rebars, right? Revit also gives us the ability to override those hook lengths, right? And if you go into your instance properties, we can now go in there and easily just adjust the dimensions and might easily edit our stools in our rebar design. The nice thing with this command, it's not like a standalone feature. Those rebars are hosted to the concrete. So if there's any editing that has been done to the concrete, your design or your updates will update with your modifications to your structures. This also adds to your rebar schedule. You can rename the shape accordingly as well to fit in your bending schedule as well. The next feature I'm going to look at are couplers. We've had couplers in Revit that we could add to our rebars, but now we're able to add an arc-shaped couplers for arc-shaped rebars, right? This is a high fidelity of rebar modeling for fabrication, and Revit just basically gives us greater support of circular structures, right? And rebar couplers, as you know, are used in reinforced concrete structures to replace normal rebar lap joints, right? And in Revit 2021, you can now use rebar couplers to connect tangent arc-shaped bars in circular concrete structures, such as curved walls, concrete tanks, tunnels, etc. This is very useful as we bring in now our concrete tools from InfraWorks into Revit as well. Now, this feature helps structural engineers and detailers create highly detailed reinforcement models and documentation. Another very nice feature that Autodesk have introduced to Revit 2021 is end treatment on our rebar without having to add our couplers. Now, we can set up end treatment parameters at start and end of your bars. You can specify if it's threaded or welded. And there's obviously high fidelity rebar modeling for fabrication. As you can see, it's a very easy tool to use. You select your rebar that you've placed in your concrete, go to your properties palette, specify if there's an end treatment at start, specify if it's threaded or welded. Once you click apply, that rebar gets updated with that end treatment. Very easy tool to use, and this new feature provides structural engineers and detailers with greater control over reinforcement and treatments. The next tool, quite exciting, it's the fact that we can now view our fabric sheets and mesh in a 3D solid, also an obscured representation of those wire fabrics, right? This also will improve our clash checks for all reinforcement in 3D views, right? This is quite an exciting tool. We haven't been able to do this with our wiring, with our mesh and our fabrication, but now we're able to just basically add that to, or view that in a 3D solid. In this case, I just selected a precast. We've gone in there, highlighted the entire wall in this case, filtered out the structural reinforcement and rebars. And as you would with any other rebar, you go to the property palette, go to the view visibility state, and switch it on to view as a 3D solid. If you want to see it in a 3D view as well, you can switch on the unobscured setting as well. This obviously improves our visualization and our clash checks in our drawing as we model. The next little feature I'm going to show you is our override hook length by instance. Right, a little bit of this when we were looking at our shape code 83. Right now, Revit 21, it's a faster adjustment to accommodate design intent. We're able to specify the hook length for each rebar on the project, and also the full fabrication instructions are included in your schedules. Okay, And in this, in Revit 2021, you can easily specify the hook length for each rebar in the project without the need to duplicate the hook type and change the length for that type. Now, in this case, I've just opened up a section, selected our rebar. On our properties palette, there's a setting called override hook length, which will now allow us to go to our dimensions and adjust the hook length in there. Now, the nice thing, this is done in our instance properties, so you do not have to duplicate the specific hook, which was a tedious process because you would forget where the hook was assigned to. Now you can visually see and edit more your rebars more intuitively. Okay, I'm going to go now into our precast tools, right? And throughout the years since these precast tools have been introduced to Revit, I think from 2019, right? I've seen the use of precast concrete in our Revit models increase in South Africa. Now, what Autodesk have done, they've just made it more user-friendly and more easier to use as well. Now, first thing that you'll do, you'll see that your precast tools are now fully integrated in Revit. They're now also localized to all Revit languages, and it's a simplified deployment. What that basically means is when you install your Revit 2021, you will see on your ribbon next to your steel tab, you'll have a precast tab, right? And look on the screen, very straightforward. Next to a steel tab, we've got a precast tab, right, with your precast tools in there as well, right? In addition to the precast update, what Autodesk have done, they've, instead of having the on or off button that we had in our previous release, we now have an enable or disable button, which allows us to disable precast updates on your model, okay? The integration of this functionality into Revit 2021 supports multi-stages of precast workflow, offering advanced tools to automate the process of generating precast assemblies, shop drawings, and files for computer-aided manufacturing machines. Right, so that those files link directly to your computer-aided manufacturing machines. Now, powerful precast capabilities are now fully integrated into your Revit software. Right. Just remember, guys, as we're going, if you do have questions, right, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Just type in your questions, and in a few moments, I will be addressing those questions. Okay, I want to go into our steel connections commands, our features that have been introduced in Revit, right? And this is also quite exciting. Autodesk have made these tools more user-friendly and much easier to use, right? The first thing I'm going to look at is integrated steel connection automation nodes in Dynamo for Revit. Now, nodes available in Dynamo for Revit. There are also thumbnail pictures for all nodes and also sample scripts that have been made available for us. Okay, now the way this looks, if you go to your Manage tab, Dynamo Player, you'll notice now there are a whole lot of scripts added to your Dynamo or to your Revit through Dynamo, and you can see in there that your steel connections nodes are now listed in your Dynamo for Revit, okay? This means that the functionality previously provided by Autodesk Steel Connections package, including nodes and sample scripts, will now be available in Dynamo for Revit. These nodes give you the functionality to drive steel connections by structural analysis results, tightening the integration between analysis and detailing phases and helping you make better design decisions when adding steel connections to the structural model. But now the integration of your Dynamo nodes for steel connections into Dynamo for Revit provides structural engineers with better out-of-the-box design automation capabilities. The next one I'm going to look at, or the next feature I'm going to look at, is the ability to edit our steel objects, right? So what Autodesk have done, we now have the ability to edit boundary or edit pattern buttons, right? And the editable steel objects are steel plates, contour cuts on beams or plates. We're able to edit bolts, anchors, shear stud patterns, And we're also able to use the editing tools to adjust the sketch, stretch a plate, specify the circular opening diameter, which I'll show you in the next clip. Now, in this case here, I've got a beam and a plate in there. Just selected the plate. As that plate is selected, you'll see at the top of your ribbon, able to edit boundary. Click on the edge of that plate, adjust your plate size, and just simply finish a command and it will update your plate size. Same applies to your bolts, able to then just adjust your number of bolts and the spacing for it as well. Okay. You'll see in the specific beam, there's a cut that's been placed in there. We're able to tab select that cut, go click on edit boundary. And as you would edit any other boundary like a floor slab or a wall or a area reinforcement, you're able to adjust the boundary of that cut and that beam. Right. Now, as you do this, as you can see here, this video, you're adjusting the boundary, adding an arc to it or a radius to it, and that immediately updates the steel profile as well. The same can be done on your holes, right? You just select your hole, select your radius, and update it everywhere. Now, if you have an opening like that, I don't know if you guys know this, you can add global parameters to radiuses like that, and you're able to adjust the global parameter in your project, and every single place where that hole is inserted, it will update throughout the project. Okay. Autodesk has now introduced as well the ability to create stiffness on beams and columns. This function has been there on specific connections. Now, what Autodesk have done, this has been made a dedicated tool that appears alongside other steel connections, right? It is a family, right, with type and instance parameters. You'll be able to duplicate with different configurations. For example, if you have 1 or 2 stiffeners with or without chamfers, you're able to snap points for easier selection. It can be moved, aligned, or copied along the beam or to different beams as well. Now, the way the function works, right, if you go to your connections, you'll navigate to plates at beam. You'll see there's a connection called stiffener, right? You add it into your project, right? And in your project, you'll go click on connection on your properties palette and your type selector. Go and select stiffener, right? And as a stiffener, you select your host. You're able to snap to a specific location to place down your stiffener in your column or your beam, right? As you can see on there, we're able to copy that stiffener. Revit sees that as a family type. If I adjust the size of that column as well, you'll notice the stiffener also adjusts according to that steel profile. In this case, we're creating a different stiffener. In this case, it will be a half stiffener. Just gone into the family itself, and open up the type properties, duplicated, and we're able to modify its parameters specific to this family type, right? And these stiffeners, obviously, you'll be able to schedule them, you can copy them, you can move it, you can dimension it, etc., etc., etc. Right, very nice function. It makes it, this dedicated tool will help you to efficiently add stiffeners and create more accurate steel design models. Okay, we're going to, the next little command as well, is the ability to insert steel elements in our vertical view, right? So we'll be able to now model steel components in 2D and 3D views, such as sections and elevations. The steel elements that you'll be able to model would be your plates, contour cuts on beams and plates, bolts, anchors, shear studs, and holes, right? And in this case here, Revit users were previously limited to inserting steel components in 3D views and 2D horizontal views, such as levels and floor plans, right? So in this case here, I've just opened up an area where we want to add like a plate to a gusset connection, right? And in this case, I'm gonna go click on steel, tab, click on plate. You still need to specify a work plane. In this case here, we're specifying a grid as a work plane as you would, right? And very easily, you can just draw in a 2D view or section view, draw in your plate to that specific area. You'll notice that as you're drawing in your 2D view, obviously it's creating the 3D component. You can easily navigate around it and modify it in any of those two views. Right. You can work with still components simultaneously in any 2D and or 3D view. Right. Another function that Autodesk have added, right, we have the ability now to dimension to the center line of your plate, right, in the front view, and also dimension to the midpoint in the side view for your connections, right? And it's a very easy function, right? Now, when creating engineering drawings for steel connections, you may wish to create dimensions to the center of a plate for more accuracy. Now, in addition to creating edge distances for a steel plate, it is now possible to snap to its midpoint and create dimensions indicating the distance from the plate edge to its center, both vertically and horizontally, as you can see on the screen. Right. In this case here, you don't really have to press tab. As you hover to the center of that plate, Revit would pick up that center of that specific plate. Now, this is on the side of the plate as well. Similar to what you do with walls, beams, you're able to just hover your cursor on the center of the edge of a plate. And also these are parametric. So if you move your plates around or your stiffness around, your dimension would update accordingly, right? Now, this feature helps you to efficiently create accurate, readable engineering documentation for structural steel. Okay, now that takes us to the end of the last feature for Revit 2021, specific to structures, right? And I'm just going to dedicate a bit of time now to answer your questions. Right, I see there's a question here. Could you please show me a basic example of generating a bending schedule from rebar added to a structural element? Right, Aneska, we can schedule a time where I can demo that for you, as this was just dedicated to just what's new. But after this, I can get back to you and I'll take you through how to do that basic bending schedule. Okay, there's another question. Hi guys, are there any new features regarding collaboration with Civil 3D? Right, Donovan, I see your question. The main feature there, if you had gone into, there's a what's new webinar that Jacques did, and he's shown a bit of integration between Revit and Civil 3D. But the main thing here that Autodesk focused on was more of a Civil 3D to InfraWorks, and then from InfraWorks to Revit, right? But I will get hold of a Civil 3D applications engineer, and he will get in touch with you. I'll give you guys just a few more seconds. If you have any other questions, you are welcome to ask. I see there are some questions in the chat. Can Revit produce bending schedules? Yes, Revit can produce bending schedules, right? What we have as Moderna, we have developed a template that has South African steel profiles, and that fits our South African standards. And using that template, you'll be able to create bending schedules that are relevant for our region. But definitely, Quobos, we can, I see there's a question here. Can we set up something like this to show interfacing between Revit and Advanced Steel? Definitely, we will be hosting other webinars, right? And we can set up a webinar where we show you a workflow between Revit and Advanced Steel. And also we can, if you want us to do something specific to your workflow, you can contact Salome and we can set up a time where we can demo this for you. Right. Once again, there's another question there. How is the integration with Advanced Steel? Right. I'll say it's seamless, right? Just to answer Michael's question, whatever you design in Revit using your steel sections, you can export to Advanced Steel for your fabrication drawings, right? And for your shop drawings. And the nice thing with Revit and Advanced Steel, if you do make a change on Advanced Steel, it does update the Revit model as well. So the two softwares are bi-directional. You can send information back and forth between the two packages. Right. Do we have any other questions? Okay, right. Just take note, guys. Yes, I see, before I go, there's another question from Alex, right? Interoperability with previous versions, right? As we all know, with Revit, if you do model on the latest version of Revit, you cannot open it in a previous version, right? The reason for that is because when Autodesk updates the Revit versions, there are new codes that are added into the new version that doesn't communicate with the previous version, right? So initially, when you're working on a project, you need to decide on the version of Revit that you'd be using, and then you can obviously upgrade to the latest version. Okay, right? Just so you know, we've been having a series of webinars that have been running this whole week. We have one last webinar that's left. That's our generative design for architects and interior designers, right? And if you guys want to go view our previous webinars, I see there was a question around Civil 3D and InfraWorks. That was on Tuesday, 2 o'clock, right? You would be able to access it by navigating our website and also going through to our YouTube channel. There is a YouTube link that has been shared with you guys on the chat if you want to access our previous sessions that we held this week, right? So I just want to encourage you guys to go see our generative design webinar that will be getting hosted today at 2 o'clock. We are running a competition for our online learning platform, right? So you stand a chance to win 1 of 5 coupons to a Moderna online course. And you just simply have to complete the feedback form that will be sent to you after the webinar by email, right? So as soon as you get that, fill in that feedback form and you automatically be entered in the competition for this training coupon, right? There are online trainings. Salome will get in touch with you, Quabas, and share with you, okay? Right, and just lastly, before we end off, if you are working remotely, right, we do have a free BIM 360 design access, right? To access that, you need to navigate to our website. You will see a banner there for a free BIM 360, right? And you just basically click on get more info, fill in your details, and we can assist you in setting up that BIM 360 design trial. It has all the features. You don't have limitations. Just take note that it is a trial just for the duration of this lockdown. Right. I'd like to thank you all for attending the session. Right. If you do have questions, take note we are open. You can email Moderna, you can email Katie, you can email Salome, and we'll be gladly able to assist you. Thank you.